Welcome back. Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. It's time to check in with our friends at the lunatic asylum, identifying as the MSNBC newsroom. And I regret to inform you that Joy Reid is preoccupied with balls.
Take a deep breath for just a moment and ponder big balls.
Okay, I'm pondering, Joy. What happens next? Donald Trump walks through the door?
Have you all essentially made it clear to Mike Johnson that until they allow you all to subpoena big balls?
I really think we need to move on from this dangerous obsession, but apparently the leftist media is talking about nothing else.
Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with Musk and Big Balls.
Big Balls.
Big Balls.
Big Balls, who worked for Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
In the one case of the Big Balls kid, a literal teenager.
Big Balls online, Big Balls here that Katie's talking about.
A 19-year-old that goes by the username Big Balls.
So that would be one way that we could refer to him.
Young computer whizzes, the aforementioned Big Balls.
Because who among us doesn't feel better about big balls, big balls?
We just saw Joy Reid's co-anchor at MSNBC, Rachel Maddow. I wonder what else she's pondering other than big balls.
All Republicans in the Senate voted tonight to advance the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard to be Director of National Intelligence. It's like saying that I could be a defensive lineman on the Philadelphia Eagles. Sure.
No, it's like saying you, Rachel Maddow, can be a hack anchor at a far-left activist news network with a teeny tiny audience of miserable Marxists. Now let's go to this beautiful moment on CNN, a spectacular self-own from Ashley Allison, a former Obama staffer.
I do not have the same opportunity as you. I know I don't.
And you know
and
that
I know
too.
Les Scott.
And you know that.
Let me just tell you about me. I got a law degree, a master's, and 2 bachelors. Probably more education than all of y'all added up together at this table, right? And I have always been the least paid person on payroll at every institution I have worked in. And it's not
even in the White House?
Even in the White House.
Well, whose fault is that? I don't think you worked for George W. or Trump.
Well, guess what happened when I was there? DEI.
Scott.
We're all clapping. Do you think she's figured it out yet? Outing her boss, Obama, as racist and sexist for underpaying her, supposedly, because of her colour and gender. Oh dear, the time has come to look at the antics of awfuls. That's AWFL, awfuls. It stands for affluent white female liberals or lefties. They like to think they are the saviours of us coloured folk, and some of them have started singing about it.
Trust black women, they lead the way. Trust black women, they lead the way. White women, stop abandoning your sisters. Trust black women, they lead the way.
Okay, that's enough. Please make it stop.
We're mad as hell. Oh, can't you tell? Oh, we're mad as hell. Can't you tell? We dissent, you fascists. Oh, we're mad as hell. Can't you tell?
Now to a dude who is deeply perturbed by his correct gender being listed on his passport. The teeny tiny M is making this lefty lose it.
My passport back, and they gave me an M gender marker. This is the country we live in. Now let me just clarify, I had an X passport before and requested it be changed to an F at the beginning of January. You can see it was issued February 4th, 2025. They gave me an M.
To 45 and 47, the Commander-in-Chief, who has always been masterful in dealing with lefty activist journalists. And this next dude from the Huffington Post got the Trump treatment.
Vice President suggested that if the Supreme Court rules in a way that she don't like, they can just enforce it by themselves. Do you agree with that?
I don't know even what you're talking about. Neither do you. Who are you with?
Up close, sir.
Who?
Up close.
No wonder. I thought they died. Are they still around? I haven't read them in years. I thought they died. All right, go ahead. Who else?
To be honest with you, I thought the Huffington Post had died as well. Now to Democrat Congresswoman Maxine Dexter, who wants to have relations with the president. Good luck, lady.
I've been told I have 30 seconds, so I am going to tell you that we do have to. I don't swear in public very well, but we have to Trump. Please don't tell my children that I just did that.
Now, plenty more Lefties Losing It with my next guest. Joining me now is journalist Batia Ungasargon. Batia, let's start with an extraordinary press conference earlier today featuring the leader of the free world and the world's richest man, who also happens to be leading the Department of Government Efficiency. Here is Elon Musk with President Donald Trump.
The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what the people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
He's right. This is what people voted for. The president has a clear mandate to impose these policies. And frankly, Batia, I've got to ask, why would any American be against cutting government waste and also tackling the enormous fraud that's in the bureaucracy?
You know, Rita, you do such a great job of pointing out the lefties losing it. I gotta say, though, I was losing it seeing these Democrats out there screaming and shrieking and wailing and weeping on behalf of the recipients of USAID, all of these foreigners who will no longer be able to make their ridiculous DEI operas with the taxpayers of hardworking Americans. I cannot remember the last time I saw Democrats this angry about something. Certainly, they have never been this outraged at the waste of American taxpayers like they are at the fact that all of these foreign countries will no longer be able to waste that hard-earned money. And I got to tell you, Rita, it is so telling to see who the Democrats' heart beats for. It beats for the other and never for their own. And I think this is such an important moment, and I thank you for calling it out.
And I think part of the reason is that they've hoodwinked everybody into thinking that this enormous leftist, so-called progressive movement we've seen in the Western world is all organic, grassroots. It's not. It's been funded by taxpayers, unwitting taxpayers who don't support these causes, these leftist activists, groups, NGOs. And now that we're actually finding out where that money's going and what sort of programs it's backing, obviously there's been a backlash from the public, and I'm really quite surprised the Democrats are so silly to double down, because this is not a popular position to be holding. Now, Elon today also talked about some of the insane rules around the bureaucracy, some of the rules that really stop them implementing the plans, and also the obvious fraud.
You know, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. So, you know, that's a case where, like, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. 150-year-olds collecting welfare. And what about all those folks with fixed government incomes, fixed government salaries, who somehow accrue incredible wealth?
Could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about 30 million,
right,
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that you know, there are quite a few people in in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from.
I'd also like to see some politicians investigated with the same rationale. Politicians who've been in the job sometimes for decades on a fixed government salary, and yet their wealth is enormous, and you wonder where that's come from. But Tia, how long can Americans expect to see Elon Musk fill this position? He's a busy man, he's worth hundreds of billions, he's got so many groundbreaking ventures underway. How long can taxpayers expect to get his services for free?
I think the thing that's going to end this romance between him and Donald Trump is not necessarily him wanting to get back to his businesses, but the fact that in some ways his interests are not actually perfectly aligned with those of the MAGA movement. And while I really appreciate what he's doing here in finding this government waste and saying the taxpayers of the hardworking American belong to Americans, I think that's all great. But even better is the fact that DOGE now has a congressional oversight committee helmed by Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is perhaps the most America First, most important congresswoman in America today. And I'm really looking forward to them taking over this venture in a way that is very organized from within Congress, of course, whose job it is to control the purse and American taxpayers.
Now, to the border crisis, perhaps is no longer a crisis. It seemed within 2 weeks, Trump had reinstated order on that border, and he's pushing ahead with his administration's mass deportation plans. But Borders.art, Tom Homan, has accused the FBI, people within the FBI, of leaking critical details about planned immigration raids, which are not only frustrating plans to deport illegals, but also putting officers' lives at risk.
We think it's coming from inside, and we know the first leak of Aurora is under current investigation. We think we identified that person under investigation right now. The California leak, Secretary Noem, she's correct. Some of the information we're receiving tends to lead toward the FBI.
But if that is the case, the consequences have to be swift and severe. If it's established that people within the FBI are guilty of these leaks, they need to be behind bars. It's not just enough to sack them, they have to be behind bars.
Yes, definitely should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, anybody who broke the law. But again, you see here, Rita, what you pointed out from the beginning, which is this is the constituency of the Democrats, right? It is career bureaucrats. It is the beneficiaries of government waste. It is the FBI actively undermining the executive branch and Tom Homan, who is unbelievably efficient. And all he wants to do is carry out the mandate given to him by Donald Trump, who got that mandate from the American people. Americans support mass deportations, especially of criminals. This has like 85% support among the American people. And again, you see career bureaucrats, Democrats, FBI agents opposing Donald Trump. But that is opposition to the will of the American people. Donald Trump always said, they don't hate me, they hate you. I'm just standing in the way. And again, we see this borne out. And immigration is simply topic number one when it comes to this. You can see it so clearly. The elites absolutely loathe the average American who wants nothing but a better future for their child.
Now, what's your response to the media, the celebrity activist class, all those who've got a voice, and they say these deportations are inhumane, they're cruel, they're unnecessary? What's your response to that?
What's inhumane is importing millions and millions of people to undercut the labor and the wages of your neighbor, who's much poorer than you. It is so disgusting to sit there and to judge people who have so much less than you and smear them as racist for the crime of wanting a labor market that favors the labor of a native-born American. It is supposed to mean something to be an American, and to the elites in this country, the opposite is the case. Everybody else gets preference. Everybody else gets our taxpayer dollars. Everybody else gets access to our labor market. Everybody else's products get shipped in here for cheap, undercutting the labor of the American worker. That is inhumane. It is inhumane to say your neighbor, because they don't have a fancy college degree, should never get to own a home, that they should never get to retire in dignity. And that's what it means when you have an open border. You are effectively saying we're going to have a limitless supply of low-skilled, low-wage laborers to undercut jobs that used to secure hardworking Americans the American dream. And that's to say nothing of the cruelty to the migrants themselves who get raped on the way over here, who get killed on the way over here, who are extorted, who become slaves to the cartels that bring him here. It is cruelty from beginning to end to everybody involved, except the elites who get rich off of these slaves and their labor.
Now, Batia, today, Jordan's King Abdullah II was at the White House. President Trump reiterated his plans to rebuild Gaza, to take over Gaza. He wants Jordan and other countries in the region to do more, including taking in people from Gaza. King Abdullah may not like that plan too much, but he said this. He said, in Trump, he finally sees a leader who can bring lasting stability and peace to the region.
Mr. President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals.
What do you think Donald Trump's real plan is here? I don't think he wants to really rebuild Gaza, but how does he engineer an inter-Arab agreement that sees countries like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt take on greater responsibility?
You know what Trump is like? He is like a person who shows up and finds a family, and in this family you have a bunch of very wealthy older siblings. And then you've got one youngest sibling who's totally broke and living in the streets, and the older siblings don't care at all. And Donald Trump is like an outsider who shows up and says, what the heck is going on here? Do you feel no shame that you have a sibling who's out there, who's starving, who's living in the streets, who has nothing, no hope, and no future? That's what he's doing. He is shaming these shameful Arab countries who have allowed the situation of the Palestinians to get worse and worse and worse and done absolutely nothing, while using this as an issue in their domestic politics to get more and more popular. It is absolutely disgusting. When Trump says that none of the Palestinians are going to want to come back, they're going to want to leave, they're going to want to go here, they're going to go there, he's not imagining forced expulsion. It is very clear that what Trump is pointing out is the fact that not a single Palestinian was allowed to flee a war zone because Egypt closed that border. Every war has refugees except this one because they were locked in by Egypt, which did not allow a single Palestinian, not a single grandmother or infant, to escape to freedom. I don't think Trump is planning to force anyone to leave. In his mind, there are many, many Gazans who would voluntarily leave and live somewhere where they could have a better future. Now, whether he's right or wrong about that, we just don't know. Probably many young people would take that option, and many older people would feel, no, I want to stay in my homeland, even if it has been devastated. But the fact that not one of these Arab moderate countries has stepped up to the plate to help these people is disgusting. And Trump is calling them out on it the way that he does so eloquently.
Now, before you go, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has reversed the Biden administration decision to rename Fort Bragg. Bragg is back. And it comes as Hegseth revealed data showing the enormous boost in recruitment numbers since Donald Trump won the election back in November. In December, the US Army had its best recruiting numbers in 12 years. And in January of this year, the Army hit its best recruiting numbers in 15 years, according to Pete Hegseth's data there, and I think that's been verified. It's hard not to see that as a massive positive.
Oh, yeah, definitely during his confirmation hearings. I was looking at that guy and thinking, everyone wants to be on that guy's team. He's good looking, he's manly, he's macho, he's smart, he's, stands up for what he believes in. He seems, like all of the things that you want a warrior to be. This is Pete Hegseth, successful and articulate. That was why he was elected. I mean, he was chosen by Donald Trump. I think he was chosen for this specific purpose. He makes people want to be warriors. And as you pointed out, Rita, he's doing a great job.
He's doing a great job, and they would be absolutely thrilled to see those boost in recruitment numbers. But here, Unga Sargon, it is always a pleasure. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be with you.